Warning, F-bombs are armed and may be dropped. And I'm working from a script, because it's actually that bad. There will be another pandemic, and it will come sooner than we all think. It's going to come out of San Francisco, most likely, maybe LA or New York. It's going to be COVID-19 again, and it's going to come because the homeless population in those cities, who are asymptomatic or worse still, carriers but not infected, are moving around, exposing new populations to the virus. We have a couple months to prepare, and we need to use this time wisely. To prepare for yourself, 1. Stock up on emergency supplies you know you'll need. Most critically, medicine, first aid supplies, etc. Have about a month's worth. If you're a type 1 diabetic, have a month's worth of insulin. If, like me, you have a bad neck, stock up on a month's worth of ibuprofen. I take about 800 milligrams every couple days. 2. Stock up on food. Have about a month's worth. In the description, I'm going to include a link to a TOWNSEND video on how to make pemmican. And I think he has one on Hardtack. And if I can find it again, I'll even include a link to Johnny Cakes. I like Johnny Cakes. They're cool. Have at least 2 10-gallon food-grade containers. You can store the rest of the materials in the containers until necessary, or fill one and keep draining it. I fill one and I use it until it's about half full. Then I fill the other one. When the first one's empty, I start working on the second one, and when it's half full, I fill the first one. I use that water to make coffee and tea, and I go through them about every 3 or 4 days. Have at least a few empty 10-gallon paint cans. You can get these for free out of a dumpster at a construction site. Just be careful how you get them. If the water is turned off, uncouple your sink from the drain. Put the 10-gallon buckets underneath your drain and use that for gray water to flush your toilets. Once you have these, go picnicking. Try and do it every weekend until you more or less have it down to a science. Use plastic spoons and forks. Skip the plastic knives. Use real knives. Just understand that if you're ever doing this for real, you're going to have to clean them. Once you've mastered the picnic, go camping. Learn what works and what doesn't. Sleeping bags, air mattresses, that sort of thing. Start ordering uninterruptible power supply packs. These are portable battery packs that you can plug your electronics into. You can get small sets for as little as $50, and those are generally the best to get for these purposes. Hook these up to critical electrical equipment, starting with comms equipment, internet, wireless phones, satellite, whatever. Getting a power pack powerful enough for a reefer is difficult, but if you can, do so. These will buy you a few hours at least in the event of a blackout, which is a possibility because circumstances are not perfect. Also, if you live in California, definitely get one for your reefer. If you can get a generator, do so. In the event of a blackout, you're basically going to go to wood tent camping. You're literally camping in your living room. Barricade your doors and windows as best as you can and just camp out in your living room. You may be forced to use propane equipment. Do so extraordinarily carefully. Ventilate well. Be as absolutely careful as possible, and do not run that equipment at night under any circumstance. Once you're settled in and ready to wait out the nastiness of the nasty month, focus on your mental health. Pick a project. A good one is puzzles, but anything will do. Right now I'm working on remaking my spear from 2003, which went up in the warehouse fire. Once these preparations are all in place, then you can get a gun. Pick one that uses the same caliber ammo as your local law enforcement and the same make and model if possible. I don't know of any sidearm that a police department has that you can't legally get, but it might exist. Remember, that gun is a last-ditch solution. If your first answer to the question of what to do to prepare was to get a gun, you're not a prepper, you're a raider. And you're wasting your time watching any of my videos. I'm not here to help you. Okay, so post-crisis, because this next outbreak is going to take about 2 or 3 months because we were stupid and we're too worried about the wrong issues this time around. Because it's always easier to make a mess than it is to clean it up. It's going to take a couple months to do so. Cleaning up the biggest mess since the Dark Ages will include the fact that most businesses have been badly hurt. Most big businesses have been badly hurt. Many local businesses have been crippled, and some local businesses are just done. They closed the shop Friday night, turned off the lights, and they will never be coming back. That, unfortunately, is the way it is. That was the bad news. The good news is most of the businesses will recover in time. They're going to need time to recover, and we need to do everything we can to help them recover. The state can step in and aid those businesses that want to recover. Most of the businesses, small businesses that went out, for one reason or another, they never could have reopened the doors, or they chose not to. One of them got sick, or some other situation arose that they just couldn't go back. But if they want to recover, they probably can. Keep the faith. Don't get into the doom and gloom shit. People who are talking about doom and gloom and economic disaster are lying to you. And I'm just going to say it. They're lying to you, and I know some of these people personally. I know they know better. And they're doing it anyway. And keep fighting. All right. So now I can go off script. The next wave, this second wave, is going to come out of San Francisco. I'm calling it now. It's going to come out of the homeless population who aren't getting treated. Most of them don't want to. And I should know. I was one of them once. I did want to get off the streets. It took me a year and a half to finally crawl my way there, and even then with help. The people I'm talking about, the ones who are on the streets now, they don't want to get off at this point for whatever reason. They've gotten used to it. They've been exposed. They don't realize it. They probably don't care too much. And as they leave San Francisco for warmer weather, in the south or cooler weather in the north, because migratory pattern out of San Francisco, south to Los Angeles, north to Seattle. They exposed new people to the virus who had before not felt it. I'm particularly worried about my family in Northern California because that migratory path, they're right in the line of it, right along I-5 all the way north. I just lost a shipmate of mine, in part because the hospital system in San Francisco wasn't paying enough attention to his medical issues because they were so worried about this COVID thing. I just lost one of my cousins because the Redding area medical system was overwhelmed with this COVID thing. The Chess County medical system was so overwhelmed, and she didn't get her asthma inhaler on her regular schedule. She tried to use one when she had an attack, and it was really as dead as she thought it was. And now so is she. So this is kind of striking home for me. 2 in less than a month. For those of you that have been following this channel for a long time, no, not the police officer cousin. It's a different cousin, thankfully. But the shipmate of mine who just died. He's the guy that came and visited me in 2005 and swapped out the barrels on me. Yeah, that story? Yeah. That's also Fix Bayonets' husband. They met totally separate from me, but I officiated their wedding. So I get to deal with the death of my shipmate, my de facto brother, and my sister-in-law, who could have been the first Mrs. Carey. Right? She's also very, very dear to me. That's what we're really facing. And this is going to happen because too many people are worried about the wrong things. First lesson of a petty officer is priorities. I have mine straight, but too many people around us seem to be worried about the economy first. And I recognize that damaging the economy will do just as much damage in the end. But it takes damaging it to this point to hurt people. We're only talking about damaging it to this point. If we damage it to this point, which is a little bit between the two, we could put a cap on this. But too many of y'all are so upset and worried about the wrong things. You need to get your fucking priorities straight. Keep calm and mandatory carry on.